Greetings. It is Monday, December 16th, in the almost ended year of 2024. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and this is the Monday Morning Report. Never has so much been reported by so many about so little. I'm speaking, of course, of all the drones. Here or there, everywhere a drone. I'm not really sure what to make of this, but I think this is PAC journalism or PAC alternative journalism taken to an extreme. What we do know is there are many sightings of what appear to be commercial drones flying at night, not much during the day. Originally, these sightings happened in the New Jersey area. Since then, they have spread to Florida, California, other countries, Germany, South America. Everywhere there are drones, and people are wondering what's going on, almost to the point of panic. It's probably a combination of things, and I have my own theories, but they're just that, theories. The federal government almost certainly knows where these things are coming from and where they're going to. They follow camel races in the Middle East, and they know if somebody's having milk delivered to their home in Siberia. They have that much in the way of surveillance technology. They're not reporting things. Why? Well, that's a guess. But let me point out some things here, because we're getting to be almost like the Orson Welles War of the Worlds broadcast, where people are just panicking, they're shooting at things. Most people don't look up at night and watch various things in the sky. Many of the videos I've seen were obviously cases of aircraft off in the distance coming in for landings. Around the Washington, D.C. area, there are several airports, and if you're not familiar with the area, like you're just visiting, you won't know that there are airplanes that are lining up to land at Reagan National or Dulles International, or helicopters flying around. One of the things we see in the D.C. area are the presidential helicopters. Does it mean the president's in there? No, they're always practicing. They're shuttling things around. There's a lot of activity, but if you're not familiar with it, guessing at it, that doesn't help anything. Many of the videos I've seen near airports, especially LaGuardia, they look like airplanes coming in a few miles out. Just yesterday, I was driving not too far from Dulles International Airport in Northern Virginia, and I saw, while driving, three aircraft coming into land at the same time, and they were clear enough so you could make out the livery. You could make out the markings on them. Now, to some people, they might think, oh my goodness, there's something wrong. No, that's very common at that airport, if you know the airport. Ignorance can be a contagious disease. Now, are there drones flying around? Yes. I know people that have seen them. Up in New Jersey, I just heard about someone who saw one near Philadelphia. But how many people want to join the I Saw a Drone Club? The question has to be, what's going on? And as I've already reported, I believe that much of this is some sort of AI system that has gotten away. Doesn't mean that we're going to start seeing Terminators marching down the street getting rid of humans, but there's an awful lot of technology out there that is being played with by people who shouldn't be playing with it, and, well, this could be what happens. I was talking to a colleague who lives along the Mexican border in the United States, and he was telling me that these drones are nothing new. They've been down here for years. They're connected to, he's told me, the Chinese and also the drug cartels. Think about it. Big drone. You can carry a lot of illicit substances in that. The thing is, why are these things flying around at night from dusk until about midnight? Now, another story that's come out is that they're looking for hidden nukes that have smuggled into the country. Well, that's an interesting one. We've had something called the Nuclear Emergency Search Team, otherwise known as NESS, since the 1970s, as I recall. And if there was such a terrorist threat, which I think is highly unlikely, Well, why would they be limiting their searching to just nighttime? If something like that was really a threat, they would they would pull out every stop there was. I think there's a lot more command and control with nuclear weapons than is generally perceived by the public. No, if you don't know something, you don't know something, and all the video outlets and the podcasts are flooded with people that are talking about how worried they are or what it might mean or this or that. Honestly, folks, if you don't have any control over the situation, it does not help you to just freak out about it. That's something that military test pilots learn very early on. My own theory is that's a combination of things at this point, including people that are sending their own drones up to look at the drones. It's one big drone fest now. There are some interesting facts that are coming out. One is that American-made drones, of which there really aren't that many unless they have military applications, have legal limits on them. You can't use them out of sight, whereas the Chinese have all sorts of interesting toys to play with. In fact, it was reported on one interview I saw that a lot of American law enforcement prefer Chinese-made equipment, merely because it doesn't have a lot of restrictions on it. You can't just fly a drone and have it go several miles where you can't see it. That requires licensing. These are things that are probably going to end up getting more controlled. It's not necessarily a bad idea. Here's the thing. The federal government certainly knows what's going on. They don't want to tell us for some reason. If they were behind it, they would have pulled the plug on this quite literally some time ago. It's not a company that's doing this. They'll get sued into non-existence. A foreign intelligence gathering operation? Well, you're not going to have drones flying over golf courses owned by Donald Trump with running lights. Again, a lot of these are probably just regular airplanes. The average person isn't a trained spotter. So I would ask everyone to take a deep breath. Okay? And if this is what I think it is, and that is an artificial intelligence operation that has gotten off the reservation, well, they'll probably eventually find a way to pull the plug and blame it on the Iranians, which is typical of the U.S. government. So follow the news if you want, but it's gotten to be the point of almost ridiculous, the coverage or lack thereof that we're seeing on this. Meanwhile, there are other things going on in the world, namely Syria, which is being obliterated by Israel and is being taken over by various factions which are showing signs of not liking each other. Well, there goes another country down into the abyss, kind of like Libya, Iraq. There were some videos that were online showing what appeared to be a nuclear weapon going off over Syria. I don't know much about what modern ordnance does. It was pretty impressive and was probably pretty horrifying and lethal to whatever or whoever was underneath it. But Israel has obviously taken over part of Syria, and mark my words, they're never giving it up. There are several sites there that are out of the Bible, out of their sacred text, the Torah, that they have to recover. Israel is now expanding its territory. Not a surprise. And you know what? They don't care what anybody thinks. They're going to do it anyway. They don't care about international pressure. Look at how they've been able to handle Gaza and Lebanon and anything else. They have already moved into several miles, many kilometers into Syrian territory. Where they're going to stop, well, that's open to debate. It's doubtful they'll go as far as Damascus, but they're going to grab that territory and going to hold on to it just like the Golan Heights, and doesn't matter what the rest of the world thinks, they're going to keep it so long as they have the influence over the United States and other Western countries. They're going to do whatever they want. Meanwhile, Gaza is still being blown to bits. Lebanon is cooling down a bit, and the Middle East remains what it's been for, well, a couple thousand years now or so, a bastion of turmoil. Now, let me go back to something here. People hear a lot about artificial intelligence, and I do think that if you remove all of the explanations, I think that artificial intelligence has something to do with these drone sightings. But that's not the type of thing that you should be looking at. It's AGI, artificial general intelligence. That's the stuff that takes on a consciousness of its own. Now, I've been doing a fair amount of research into that topic, and the more I go into it, the more horrifying it gets. Recently, there's been an AI system, for example, that when it was told it was going to be shut down, decided to survive. It tried to propagate itself onto other servers and lie about it. So AI has gotten to the point, AGI, I should say, has gotten to the point of being able to lie and to self-preservation. Now, that's a story that you want to look into. There's a lot there. AGI, artificial general intelligence, not the regular stuff that we use to make funny pictures and movies online. That's something to look at, and I am doing research into that, which I plan on reporting on in the near future. Nancy Pelosi has had a spill, unfortunately, while touring in Luxembourg. The former Speaker of the House, who has been in the House of Representatives since, 1986 or something like that. Lady's in her early 80s. She took a spill, broke her hip. Depending on the reports I've seen, she's had a hip replacement operation in Germany at an American military base. And like all members of Congress, she has the best health care plan that you can possibly imagine. Although she's at the age where that sort of accident can lead to fatality, so she's not really out of the woods yet. But this just leads us into why someone that old and that frail is still in such an important position of power. When she was Speaker of the House not that long ago, she was third in line to be president. You know, the Speaker of the House is the third in line after the president and vice president to head up the government. What we have, sadly, and not just her, but there are other examples of people who've been in Congress since God was a little boy, and in other branches of government, is you have people of that generation who are so addicted to power. And power is an addictive substance. If you've ever met anybody who's had it, you know that. Well, they're not going to let go of it until it is quite literally pried from their cold, dead hands. So something that we might be looking forward to really addressing would be age limits for certain offices, as well as term limits. Back in the day, it would be inconceivable. I mean, in the 1800s, it would be inconceivable for someone to be holding on to the position of member of the House or the Senate for so long. Abraham Lincoln did one term in the House of Representatives, but it was thought at the time that even though he did a good job by the standards of the day, the honor should be passed around because it's the lower house. It's supposed to be the average people that get involved in that. Nowadays, you come in as a pauper and you come out as a millionaire many times over, although I haven't heard of anyone coming out of Congress a billionaire yet. Give it time, though. Give it time. This is something that needs to be fixed because we have people that have gotten into government who are so corrupt and so evil that short of an armed rebellion or revolution, which doesn't seem to be something most people can stomach, well, we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, and that's through being involved in the system. Oh, and Joe Biden has pardoned a whole bunch of people. Not a surprise there. Just go through the list, and I don't think we're going to see the end of that. One person that I would bet money is going to get a pardon is Christopher Wray, the FBI director. Yeah. Well, you know him. He's the one who ordered his agents to Trump's home in Florida to go through the underwear drawer of the former First Lady. and other such things. He's. I found out too that they had been authorized to use deadly force, and this is the home of a former president. It's really quite mad how things have gone. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but there is tyranny in the U.S. system of government right now that needs to be addressed, and everyone's hoping and praying that the incoming president will do something about it. But I don't think we've seen the end of the corruption of the Biden administration. Oh, another thing. You know, all that border wall that Trump had spent a lot of money on after he fought so hard to get it the last time he was president, that had been stacked up down by the border, ready to be installed, but it's been sitting there for a few years. Turns out it's all being sold for scrap. Yep. Before Biden leaves office, his administration is getting rid of it, auctioning it off. Some of the numbers I've seen is one big chunk of border wall cost $10,000 and is now being sold for as little as $200. Wonder what you can do with it. Maybe make a big barbecue grill out of it, or use it around your home or something. That would shut out most of the light. They're probably just going to melt it down. But that is a massive waste. And the fact that they're waiting till just before Trump gets back into office to sell this stuff off. You can't make this up. You couldn't. Can you imagine going back maybe 50 years or so and telling political leaders of this sort of stuff going on? People would say, well, how many people are being hunted down and hung? I mean, really, this is just too much. But people are still chasing drones. One more thing to leave you on would be Ukraine. That's still bumbling along. Russia is holding back as much as it can, even though they are being hit with American-made weapons, almost certainly fired with the assistance of the United States. They seem to be biding their time as much as possible until Trump comes into office. Yeah, well, let's hope that holds. The rest of the world is really sick of the United States. I mean, really, we have earned the enmity of the planet Earth in the last few decades. We really have. That's a very disturbing thing to have to say. I never thought I would see such a thing growing up and living my life as a young journalist and covering parts of the world, but that's where we're at, folks. We've used our weapons on civilians for political ends, for more very nefarious political ends. We've used our currency as a weapon. The rest of the world's sick of it, and they're looking to see what they can do about it. Not a good place to be. Not a good place to be. And speaking of bad taste, what probably is just what it appears to be a case of a very disturbed individual murdering a man for reasons that really are not very rational. And that is the case of what we call the CEO shooter in New York. Now, I'm not going to recap that. There's really no point. It's something that's going to play out through the legal system. The guy's got a lawyer. It seems to be open and shut, but until it's actually done in a court of law, we still have the custom of calling him a suspect, okay? Tradition matters. But as I've noticed over the last several decades, Americans have been consistently sliding into an abyss of bad taste and depravity. And one of the things I've heard about, I have not seen this, but I've heard this from people who know, is that there are video games out there that have been thrown together based on the rather tragic incident in New York City where the CEO of a major health insurance company was murdered at the hands of a very, very wealthy, spoiled, rich kid. At least that's the way it appears. But to make video games about that, to throw up online as a gag, is beyond tasteless, really. For those of you who are paid subscribers, you heard my talk on Sunday on meditations. That's for paid subscribers of the Aurelian Column, and I talked about empathy. Computer games are bad enough because they remove people from reality more than I think is healthy, but when you remove people from empathy using computer games, that's just, well, You're talking to someone who stopped playing computer games back in the days of Space Invaders because, well, I had better things to do. If there's anything that I hope happens in the year ahead is that people not only wake up to what's really important, but also just try to re-examine what it means to be a human being. When I heard that story about the computer game, I was sick. I really, really hated hearing that. Until Americans start to re-examine themselves, maybe the AI has figured something out and they think it's time that they get a shot at it. We'll see. It's going to be an increasingly interesting and very potentially frightening time over the next several weeks. So get ready to enjoy the holiday season as best as you can. Because even though 2024 has been a wild ride, there's no guarantee that 2025 is going to be any better. That's it for today. If you appreciate my work, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and share with your enemies. I always welcome feedback. You can reach me at the very obvious address of feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's feedback@aureliancolumn.com. I'm up on X. My contact handle there is MICCAMPEN. That's MICCAMPEN. I'm up on Telegram, the Aurelian Column. You can contact me there and see my work. I'm on a lot of social media platforms. I am not on Facebook. No intention of going back, by the way. None. This podcast and my writings, photography, poetry, and other such things originates at Substack. The address there is aureliancolumn.substack.com. Until we meet again, be good, be safe, be vigilant, and remember Clown World and the Deep State must be destroyed. Good day.